And again, this is part of that entertainment precinct that we're looking at still now, isn't it, Pete?
That's actually the Brisbane Convention and Entertainment Centre, where, you know, a zillion conferences from people come from all over the country for conferences there. And not only is that centre, but you can see there's water to the right where those unit blocks and office blocks are. So this entire precinct is now going underwater. And as I say, back in '74, these were just warehouses. Now they're home to many, many people in those high-rise.
And have they been told to evacuate, Pete?
West End was told to seek higher ground, I think, around 24 hours ago.
But if you're, even if you're in a high-rise apartment, would you have been worried?
Look, people will get into strife when they suddenly panic and try and make a dash for somewhere. I mean, the advice from authorities from the earliest was make a plan, get out of harm's way early. Where people get into strife is where they leave it to the last minute. Now, right centre of screen, that is a icon of Queensland. That is Suncorp Stadium. You know, not 2-3 weeks ago, thousands of people were there watching U2. A couple of nights later, they were there watching Bon Jovi. It's home to rugby league, rugby union, and soccer in Brisbane. That is that's a major icon of Queensland in this country. And we're zooming into the tunnel there, where the players would come out. There's a guy on a kayak there, and look at that fella on the left-hand side. He is what, chest deep in water. So that entire playing surface and all the infrastructure inside Suncorp Stadium is underwater. That is simply amazing.
There were reports earlier today that Suncorp Stadium was on fire. Can you clarify those for us? It wasn't the case, was it?
No, earlier in the day, I understand a substation, a piece of electrical, major infrastructure was on fire. So the whole stadium wasn't on fire, but we understand a substation was there on fire. All sorts of crazy things are happening around Brisbane as water suddenly goes into places where it just shouldn't be.
How far out of the centre of Brisbane, or how far away from the river would you have to be to still be in danger of flooding? Because there is a substantial floodplain around the city.
Yeah, you can't generalise and say how far, because obviously there are places along the river that are going under, but there's also spots, a kilometre away from the Brisbane River where, just because it is low-lying territory, it's now, inundated. Look at these guys. They've got two paddles. They're heading down one of the inner parts of Brisbane. All across the city, people on boats are getting out. They're having a look. They're helping out. And hopefully staying safe as they move around. This water here is not fast running. Okay, it's slowly coming up. It's going around those houses. That shed out the back probably gives you an idea of that's a lower lying area, and the water's right up there. You can see that's a new house. I mean, there's nothing old about that. And where many, many homes in the past might have been your traditional Queenslander, high up on stilts, many new homes have been built much lower, and many of the older houses have been filled in underneath as well.
Are you expecting to see any of the old Queenslanders survive? And this is a 1 in 100-year flood.
Look, they've gone under before, and the reality is they'll go under again. Now look at that. That is an icon that many people will know. That is the 4X Brewery. So for anyone who drinks 4X around Australia, that is the 4X Brewery at Milton. It's on Milton Road there. The water has inundated the centre of that brewing complex. That is another old school icon of Brisbane, and obviously no one there to be seen. Like many companies, in the last 48 hours, bosses told their employees, make the place safe and get out of here. And that's what many people have done. They've had to go home to look after their own houses, to look after their own families, and leave their workplaces and to the elements and see what happens.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Milton's not that far from one of the worst affected areas. Is it Auchenflower and Toowong?
No, that's not far. I just want to point out where we're looking at now. Where we're zooming into is the Rosalie Shops, and that's one of the places that I told you, it's not right beside the Brisbane River. It's quite a considerable distance from the Brisbane River, but because it's low, the water has come up. So that's a very nice, trendy dining precinct in Brisbane, and that water, if you look at the awning, you can get an idea. It's halfway up the first story. In the 1974 flood, the first story of all those shops completely disappeared and they were rescuing people off those awnings. So we still have a while to go. But this is the main street of Rosalie. It would be 2 kilometres at the maximum from the centre of Brisbane. And all those homes, you asked about how the old Queenslanders survive. Those homes will survive. I mean, there'll be a hell of a stink and a mess inside, but people will clean them up. And you know, look, that's a battle for another day. But those homes will still be there. But in '74, these homes that you're looking at now, just the rooftops were protruding, so we still have a little while to go. Right there in the centre of frame, that's a local bike shop, Epic Cycles. It used to be a service station. Back in '74 it was a service station. Now it's a bike store. It's going under. And
we can see how high the water is from those traffic lights too, Pete. Sorry to interrupt.
You're right. Those traffic lights are, you know, that's high water right there as Epic Cycles go under. And let me tell you, everybody there would be simply stunned. This morning, if you watch Sunrise, Grant Daniel was broadcasting, I believe, from this area, and now it is completely inundated.
I'm guessing that access in and out of this particular part of Brisbane is going to be exactly on what we're looking at there, by boat, and no other way in or out? Absolutely.
And in 1974, I'm sorry to hark back, but back then the boaties of Brisbane were crucial to the survival of the city. You know, police can only have so many boats. SES can have only so many boats. So ordinary people out in the suburbs are really doing a crucial job in the city. The authorities just hope they stay safe and look after themselves. You know, there are power lines out there. There are all sorts of things. All our crews have been ripping around in flood boats for the past fortnight across Queensland, and it's the boulders under the water, it's the rock fences, it's walls that you can hit, and if you hit them fast, it can do a hell of a lot of damage to you and the boat. So the message for all these guys, take it safe, take it slow. If anything, the good thing is, because they're locals, they know the street they're going up. You know, so they know where the traffic lights, they know where the corner is, they know where the obstacles are. And so if anything, that local knowledge is what will save them as they motor up those streets.
Pete, we were just going to, obviously, to another part of Brisbane here because the river meanders around through the city. Whereabouts are we now?
Okay, right now we're looking, you might have heard about the restaurant that broke away.
Yes.
That restaurant used to be at the bottom of your frame. So it broke away from there and headed downstream. So look, we're 500 metres from the centre of town. That's some of the crucial bridges to get into town. And at the top of the screen, the railway station just disappeared out of view. Obviously, trains, you know, in all sorts of chaos, but there are still trains running. You can see that one at the top of the screen. It's just some specific lines have been knocked out of action. That is Coronation Drive, one of the city's main routes along the city. We have staff who live there and are obviously making plans tonight not to go home, as are many people across this city as they struggle to deal with something that, you know, really is difficult to comprehend.
I think for all of us. Peter Doherty, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. We'll come back to you for your vast bank of local knowledge a little later. This is Seven's continuing coverage of Australia's flood crisis. We'll be back shortly.